Hello and welcome to Kansas Ag Report from our nation's capital. I'm Ken Rogers. We've been here this week with the nation's farm broadcasters, and we're going to talk with policymakers and influencers on this week's show, including Ben Scholes, the Vice President of the National Association of Wheat Growers, and Steckel, as we talk biofuels, and also comments from Kansas Senator and the Senate Ag Committee Chairman Pat Roberts on sorghum. Plus our updates from Kansas Wheat, Kansas Farm Bureau, the Kansas Livestock Association, and Paragon Ag Advisors. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up.
Closed captioning brought to you by
The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers. KansasSoybeans.org.
Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting our members' business interests to meet consumers' demands. KLA.org.
We're joined now by Ben Scholes, who is the Vice President of the National Association of Wheat Growers. And Ben, you're here in the nation's capital, as we are this week, with the nation's farm broadcasters. And you probably spent a lot of time here advocating for a farm bill. We've asked others, as far as what you know right now, is the farm bill in pretty good shape for wheat producers?
Well, we're moving along. We've gone through a process, at least the most optimistic thing, we got it out of the House Ag Committee. And most of what we were advocating for is still in there. There's a few things we would like to see, especially with PLC as far as price yet, but target price or reference price. But anyway, we're just tickled to death that this process is moving down the road and looking forward to maybe seeing this happen before it expires.
Confident that it will get done in a timely manner then?
Well, all the indicators are there. We sure have Congressman's interest. Not only do we have the Speaker of the House, Ryan, he's looking forward to getting it on House floor debate, and of course with the Senate Ag Committee, Chairman Roberts and Ms. Stabenow, they're looking forward to having a markup as well. I've been told maybe during May, and of course, that would put it in a good time frame to maybe get it before we started getting into these summer recesses.
Trade is probably just as important an issue. We keep hearing that from ag groups, that let's get the trade thing figured out and stabilized, and the farm bill will take care of itself.
Absolutely. A farmer would rather get his value for his product out of the market, not have to be supported by some kind of government program. And we're encouraged from the things that we've heard this past week from the administration. And of course, we were disappointed at the beginning of his term rescinding TPP, but at least we're seeing now that maybe this was a negotiation tactic. Who knows? But at the same token, we need to encourage the administration and all of our trade negotiators to move forward with trade agreements. That's the best way to fix a struggling ag economy, is to try to get value back in the products we're trying to market worldwide.
Well, in order, if you have a market, you need to have a crop. And we all know, especially the hard red winter guys, have suffered this year in the drought, and the spring wheat guys are a little too wet. What do you got for a report on what you've heard of how things are right now?
Well, in my state, we don't have anything that fits the good or excellent range. It's somewhere in the 60-65% range is poor to very poor. So, yeah, production is going to be off, but unfortunately we trade in a world market, so that trade deal is still going to be the main thing we're going to want to be pushing for.
All right, Ben, thanks for your time. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Ben Scholes, who is the Vice President of the National Association of Wheat Growers, has joined us. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Livestock Association, supporting our members' business interests to meet consumers' demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
Imagine having someone help you pick the best corn hybrids for every field on your farm. Your Oldie representative can combine your data with his data to offer a field-by-field prescription. Contact Oldie Seed today at 877-692-4555.
All over the country, more and more communities are making the change to biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil. And the decision continues, improving the health and welfare for millions of Americans while adding billions to our national economy.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name? That future is here, the time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
We're joined now by Ann Steckel with National Farmers Union, and she is the biofuels expert. Ann, you've been in the biofuel industry for a long time, and let's just be honest, it's been taking a few hits recently.
Well, it certainly has been an interesting time to be in the renewable fuels industry. We've seen a lot of assaults, unfortunately, come down on the renewable fuels industry. There's a lot of talk about legislative reform on Capitol Hill. The president has gotten very involved in the uplifting of the RFS and potential changes to the RFS. And so this is definitely one of the wildest times that I can remember in recent history when we talk about renewable fuels.
Do you think the president now understands? There's been a lot of farm state lawmakers visit him, and so he understands what RINs, what Reed Vapor, and all those things mean. Do you think he and his people now get it and the impact and the importance that they really are?
What I think we've seen from this president is that any sort of changes that anybody in his administration has talked about that have been negative to the RFS, people have come out in droves in terms of the support from the farmers saying, we can't have any kind of cap on RIN prices. The renewable fuels industry is incredibly engaged. No one wants to change the RFS, and we see a very strong backbone and support for the renewable fuels industry. Of course, as you know, we're competing against a very highly leveraged group of folks in the petroleum and refining industry who have a lot of money, who don't want any infringement on its market supply and don't want renewable fuels to thrive. And so what we're going to do is what we've always done, is we're going to lobby, we're going to tell our story. We've got a great story to tell, and we're going to keep winning.
Leadership in both the House and Senate, I would think, listen to you and are favorable to your story.
Well, luckily we do have very strong support in members of Congress that understand the benefits of renewable fuels. The renewable fuels industry has really grown and thrived through the RFS. This has been really beneficial to farmers all across ag country. And so these members of Congress know the benefits of that, they know the importance of it, and they will stand up for agriculture and stand up for the renewable fuels industry.
Worldwide, there's more and more challenges for other countries wanting to get in, shipping some back in, trying to block some of the U.S. I mean, do you think some of those issues will be solved through ongoing negotiations on a multifaceted, and the renewable fuel will be taken care of as kind of part of that broader package?
Well, we're incredibly concerned about any sort of effect on trade. The ethanol industry exports a lot of ethanol. And so it's incredibly important that we have access to those markets. And what we've seen with China putting on these tariffs to our ethanol is very detrimental to our industry. And so we really hope and are working very closely with the administration so they understand that we need to be able to have markets. We're growing and we're using a lot of renewable fuels here in the United States, but we have a lot of markets that we need access to. And so any sort of trade deal needs to be thought of with that in mind.
Speaking of renewable fuels, biofuels, and so on, we're finding new ways to use different sources for those fuels.
Absolutely. Biofuels continue to diversify. Of course, we have our traditional ethanol, which is a gasoline replacement, and we have biodiesel, which is a diesel replacement. But we have all sorts of other uses and feedstocks that are coming online, which I think really continues to diversify and grow the renewable fuels industry. Algae, for one, is a really exciting new technology that's coming online. And so we're going to continue to diversify and expand upon what was traditionally just the corn-based ethanol industry, which we have seen has been a tremendous success story. And really, in terms of the corn-based ethanol, we're really pushing for higher volumes of that, and we know that higher level volumes of ethanol, it provides a high octane fuel, and the administration has indicated they strongly support that, and so that's another opportunity for us to work with the administration on.
And thanks, always good to see you.
Always a pleasure, thank you.
Ann Steckel with the National Farmers Union has joined us. Stay with us, we'll have more coming up.
This segment brought to you by Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. Grassandgrain.com. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
And we continue our show from the nation's capital, and one morning we spent on the Hill and meeting with congressional leaders, one being the Senate Ag Chairman, Kansas Senator Pat Roberts. I had a chance to ask him about sorghum and the China market and how China has basically been that sorghum market for a long time and how to get that back.
It's been a great market for the sorghum producer, and it's been a great benefit to China because of a very needed and appropriate feed grain for their poultry industry. The Chinese, like chicken, and I hope that we can restore that if at all possible. And we'll just have to see. That's a classic example where I get terribly concerned, if not upset and frustrated, that where you're using individual producers as pawns in this business of trying to get a deal. So you could make a statement and you can say, well, wait a minute, we haven't really made a final decision because of the time period involved. And that's what China's doing, and so we are investigating it. But in the meantime, you're sending market signals for everything that you say. You have to understand that it's market sensitive. And so using the sorghum producer as a pawn with regards to washing machine and solar panels, what the heck is that all about? Note I said heck, I'm trying to be tempered. But, don't get me started. So, and it's not that we haven't given that message to the president. We've had all members of the Finance Committee, many members of the Agriculture Committee, personal visits with the president. He understands that. I do not believe, I think the last meeting we had with the president was very emphatic, and I think it was a good thing. We emphasized that we did not want aid, a $15 billion program that we were trying to get the secretary to respond to. I'm not trying to say that we were trying to cause him a problem, but there are a lot of questions. How on earth would you implement that? And we don't need aid, we need trade. We need to sell our product. And wherever and whenever we have Mexico buying wheat from Argentina, Mexico buying corn from Brazil, this is not a good thing. We have Mexico making a deal with the EU. The EU is a food importer. There are a lot of reasons for that, and that's their problem, but it's our advantage. So we need to take advantage. We mentioned TPP. The president said he was going to take a look, and then about 4 days later walked that one back. And so we'll have to see. I think before we see any real progress, that we're going to have to get to a conclusionary situation with NAFTA. But in the meantime, it puts us in purgatory out in farm country. And that's not right. So we're trying to make that as obvious as we can.
Spring is sprung, and Premier Farm and Home has what you need to keep your yard crabgrass free throughout the season. With a complete line of pre-emergence, you can stop crabgrass before it starts. Premier Farm and Home, 900 Southwest University Boulevard, or find them on the web at heycow.com.
The National Wheat Foundation is proud to once again host the National Wheat Yield Contest. This yield contest was held for the first time in 2016 and was well received by wheat growers across the United States. The contest offers growers the opportunity to compete with their peers across the United States and learn from each other innovative techniques to improve wheat productivity on their farms. In its third year, the contest continues to drive innovation in the industry by spotlighting the best practices among American wheat growers. The deadline for the contest is May 15th for winter wheat. An entry fee of $125 per variety entered is due upon submission. The Kansas Wheat Yield Contest has been discontinued to allow farmers to compete on a national level. There are 2 contest sectors, winter wheat and spring wheat, and 2 subsectors, irrigated and dryland. This year, the contest is adding a quality requirement, raising the bar for what constitutes the greater grain among U.S. wheat growers. This new quality requirement addresses the market opportunities and needs that will help U.S. wheat growers to maximize profitability as they grow the greater grain and allow the industry to compete with wheat growers around the world. The contest's objectives are to drive innovation in the industry, enable knowledge transfer between growers, encourage the use of available technology, and identify top wheat growers across the United States. Kansas farmers must be members of the Kansas Association of Wheat Growers to compete. More information about the contest is available at yieldcontest.wheatfoundation.org.
In April, Kansas Farm Bureau, along with Kansas Pork and Kansas Soybeans, took a group of influencers to St. Louis to learn more about food and farming. This is the 4th year of the Farm Food Tour, and the goal is to connect bloggers and dietitians with sound, reliable information on food and farming so they're better informed and can share this information with their clients and readers. Stops included Elanco, Monsanto, and a small processing facility, the Central Missouri Meat and Sausage. This particular tour is level 2 of our farm and food tours. The influencers who joined us on this tour had previous experiences through either a 3-day farm tour across Kansas or the real pig farming trip that includes a full day at the Fair Oaks Farm in Indiana. The 10 participants were able to ask questions and dive deep into the science regarding antibiotics used on the farm and GMOs. The small processing facility offered a glimpse into how beef and pork get from the farm to our grocery store shelves. Attendees come away with their eyes opened and their brains on overdrive. One blogger shared that the tours provided insight into the tough choices farmers and ranchers make daily and how that impacts all consumers. She went on to say that no amount of online research could compare to the understanding she had after seeing all of it for herself and asking tons of questions. This fall, we will host our 5th Farm Food Tour across the state of Kansas, and we look forward to sharing once again how diverse, sustainable, and amazing Kansas farm and ranch families are.
This segment brought to you by Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Find them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. Grassandgrain.com. Kansas Wheat Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for wheat. Online at kswheat.com.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name. That future is here, the time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
You need a partner that you can count on to be there for your business. Providing a depth of understanding to risk management issues so you don't have to. A knowledgeable support team located in your area, delivering products and services to make you more successful.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
What does a brighter, more sustainable future look like in our cities and towns, and how do we get there? When New York needed an alternative fuel source to reduce carbon emissions, the city found what it needed in biodiesel made from U.S. soybean oil.
Imagine having someone help you pick the best corn hybrids for every field on your farm. Your Oldie representative can combine your data with his data to offer a field-by-field prescription. Contact Oldie Seed today at 877-692-4555.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.
The Kansas Beef Council hosted 7 beef quality assurance training and certification sessions across the state this past winter. Producers and veterinarians attending these checkoff-funded sessions received BQA information and training relevant to the cow-calf, stocker, and feedlot segments of the industry. Kansas State University veterinarian Dan Thompson and K-State Extension beef veterinarian A.J. Tarpoff led the training sessions. Specific topics included animal husbandry best management practices, downed animal care and humane euthanasia, and low-stress cattle handling techniques. The training addressed recent studies indicating consumers have more concerns about how animals are raised than about the actual product. Sessions were held in Buhler, La Crosse, Plainville, Eureka, and Washington. The series also included online training for high school FFA students and the Beef Council's first online transportation webinar targeted toward livestock haulers. Attendance was strong with nearly 550 producers, students, and haulers certified through these events. Anyone who would like to become certified can enroll at bqa.org. Online BQA certification modules are customized to meet the educational needs of each industry segment, including cow-calf, stocker, feed yard, and dairy. Beyond reinforcing best practices for cattle production, certification reassures consumers they are receiving a safe, wholesome product.
Good morning. I'm Eric Osterhaus with Paragon Ag Advisors. Our spring planting across the Midwest is continuing slowly, and there is some talk regarding corn losing acres to beans if we continue this pace. We've seen a small bounce in corn and soybean prices, and some are attributing this to planting delays. However, I don't believe the trend is really concerned at this time. The fear of planting delays is starting to become less and less of a trading event as the speed and efficiency of the American farmer to get their crop in the ground increases. We've proven time and time again that, given just a few days, the crop will get in the ground. Corn futures have traded higher, actually trading near our high of last year just a couple of weeks ago, despite all the negative news we've had. However, as planting progresses, don't be surprised to see corn soften up. Soybeans seem caught as everyone watches to see what, if anything, progresses in our overseas trade disputes. Good demand, a somewhat disappointing crop in Argentina, less acres projected here in the U.S. is all offsetting some of this concern, but we're not out of the woods yet. In looking at wheat, some of the driest hard red wheat areas did get a drink over the last week. However, it was spotty and less than what was hoped for in many areas. The trade seems tired of the oversupply story, and much is unknown about our wheat crop due to drought and potential freeze damage. I'd expect the wheat to try to consolidate and move sideways in a pretty wide range, at least until we get further down the calendar. If you have questions on this market or any of these markets, please give us a call today at 888-452-8751. Have a productive day.
Well, that's our show this week for the nation's capital. Hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to be social with us online at KansasAgReport.net. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Closed captioning brought to you by
The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers. KansasSoybeans.org.
Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farmers and ranchers since 1919. KFB.org. Kansas Weed Commission, leaders in the adoption of profitable innovations for weeds. Online at kswheat.com. Kansas Livestock Association, supporting our members' business interests to meet consumers' demands. KLA.org.
What if U.S. soybean oil were an industry sensation? If end users started asking for it by name? That future is here. The time is now. To meet customer demands, the Soybean Checkoff is investing in varieties that produce oil with increased functionality. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
The producer-funded Kansas Wheat Innovation Center was built to get improved varieties into the hands of farmers faster. Kansas Wheat, farmers advancing their future through wheat genetics research.